and welcome on back to East Texas Now. My name's Hannah Johnson, and of course, like I said moments ago, the last several weeks, last several months, we've been talking to multiple candidates getting ready for the upcoming Texas primary election, making sure that you have context to names that you see on the ballot, you're connecting faces, you're connecting priorities, and getting a better understanding of who all is a part of the ballot that we're going to see coming up. So going now to our reporter, Michael Richardson. He has a guest joining us now. This is Tony Box. I'm turning it over to you guys. Let's go.
Well, Hannah, thank you for having me. Joining us today is Democratic candidate for Texas Attorney General Tony Box. Mr. Box, thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you. It feels great.
And this is your first time in town.
It is. Yes, it is.
And traffic here wasn't too bad.
No, it was wonderful.
Even with all the construction downtown.
Easy breezy, even with the construction.
That's what we like to hear. Well, let's go over a bit of your history. It's my understanding you've worked in the FBI, in the Army for a little bit, and now work in Dallas as an attorney. Why run for Texas Attorney General for the Democratic nomination?
Well, yes, I have served in the Army for actually a full career, more than 20 years, FBI, federal prosecutor, and all of that experience is public service experience. It's really time that I spent focused on keeping people safe and protecting individuals. And I've been doing that my entire professional career. And the reason why I did that, it comes from a long time ago. But when I was very young, I made a commitment that I would enter a life of public service. And before I did that, it stemmed from an incident where I was working at a grocery store. I helped a lady to her car with her bags. And then while I was walking with her, someone came and snatched her purse. I instinctively ran after that individual and then jumped on top of him. And while we were on the ground, that individual shot me. In the ensuing months, actually, everyone has that reaction when I tell them I got shot. Actually, the bullet is still in me to this day. When I was over the ensuing months, when I was recovering, I made a promise to God and myself that I would live a life of public service. And over the course of the last 20 plus years, I have worked in public service to keep people safe.
So, would it be correct of me to say that you getting shot led you to want to pursue a career of public service?
It is. That's absolutely correct.
I feel like for a lot of people, it would be the opposite.
It would be the opposite. No, I'm not the type to be bitter. I'm the type to say, look, I've been really blessed. I mean, I'm fortunate to be here. And so how can I help other people the way that the doctors help me and quite frankly, the Lord helped me.
If you don't mind me asking, Are you healthy from?
I'm healthy as can be.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
What would you say are your biggest priorities if you're elected to the Texas Attorney General?
Sure. My overarching priority is to serve the people of Texas and to restore integrity to the Attorney General's office. That's not policy. That's kind of, like I said, overarching. But the policy perspective is consumer protection, which I feel is lacking or can be strengthened, and child support, which is a significant responsibility of the Attorney General. Child support enforcement is a huge number of individuals on the Attorney General's staff. And lastly, working with the district attorneys, which is also very, very important. I've seen it firsthand in my career how important it is. So.
Talk to me about the child support division. Of course, the Texas Attorney General does handle child support.
Yes.
Anything there you'd like to see change?
Yeah, I would like to see more resources. So I've spoken to several individuals who are very knowledgeable about the system. Inside the system have been individuals who are seeking child support and also lawyers who represent people seeking child support. And they say the people are phenomenal. They are hardworking, but it's just not enough of them. They're overwhelmed, underpaid, and quite frankly, the technology is not there. So, that can be improved. Those are all things that are obtainable. It simply requires the will and resources. And the Attorney General's office does have significant resources. So I plan to, if need be, shift resources to strengthen the child support, especially as it relates to technology and human resources, more pay, more people.
So shift resources, and that could include more lawyers in the child support division.
It could easily, yeah. It will be. Not could be, yes.
Under your leadership,
It will be, for sure.
Well, you sort of allude to it there, but the Texas Attorney General's office has hundreds of employees. Why do you believe you have the experience to lead an agency of that size?
Sure. I have significant executive leadership experience. I started leading at 18 years old when I was a freshman in college, and I took ROTC, and one of the first classes we took was Leadership 101, Military Leadership 101. And since that time, I've held a series of progressively higher jobs with more responsibilities. For example, my very last job, I was the chief, essentially the equivalent of a chief legal officer of a very large military unit. And so I dealt with personnel issues and any number of issues where a lawyer with high level of expertise is required. And so I think that's analogous to what I'll experience in an Attorney General's office. And I think I bring a tremendous amount of understanding and, quite frankly, leadership experience. You know, I was recently talking to my son, who's also a soldier, and one of the things we talked about is how the military infuses us with leadership abilities. We talked about the book, Leaders Eat Last, and that essentially says other people eat first. You put yourself last. It's all about the leadership qualities and how you comport yourself in front of others, and people will want to follow you if you lead correctly.
Talk to me a bit more about your time in the Army. What did you take the most from that experience?
So I was blessed. You know, people sometimes say to me, "Thank you for your service." I instinctively say, "You don't understand how much I was blessed to serve more than 20 years in the Army." So I served in Iraq. After I started out as an M1A1 main battle tank commander as a very young buck, and then from there I served my time. I left the military, but I had a long break in service. Then I went back in as a lawyer and as a JAG, but essentially a military lawyer, and immediately went over to Iraq. And what that taught me is that no matter how difficult the situation, it was difficult. I mean, there was what you would expect in war. But nonetheless, helping people, soldiers in their most vulnerable positions, when they needed a lawyer, I loved it. Out of all my jobs, that was one of the most rewarding because I got a chance to touch individuals and improve their lives. And you can almost see it instantaneously.
Do you see anything from that experience you feel translating to if you're elected to the Attorney General?
I do. Just like I was able to touch individual lives there, I expect, despite the fact that I'm the Attorney General, I will touch individual lives. I will change people who are fighting for their child support. I'm not ashamed to say that I have personal experience with it. When I was young, my mom was supposed to get child support from my dad and did not receive it for years, and it made a difference. And so I want to be the difference for those people in child support and many other areas. Another area is where people have been scammed. I cannot tell you, even in my private practice, people call me, they say, "Tony, I've lost $3 million, $4 million. What can be done? Can an agency help me?" I say, "Have you called the Attorney General's office?" And usually the answer is something like, "I have, but I haven't gotten the result I wanted to get." And so I want to be able to touch those type of lives as well.
You mentioned, some clients come to you missing a lot of money because of scams. I want to ask you, though, what would you say is a case you've worked on that particularly, stands out to you, something that you feel is a big career accomplishment?
Well, I've defended a lot of people. I've prosecuted a lot of cases, really bad people. I've prosecuted a murder case and several other things. But really the case which stands out to me most was helping an individual who I found out that they were innocent. We did a thorough investigation. That individual, his name is Lamar Johnson. There was quite a bit of press. I believe there may have been a 60-minute special. And he was 28 years incarcerated, and he was wrongly convicted. We fought. There was acrimonious litigation against the Attorney General, but eventually Lamar was out. He got out. He's out now. He's productive. He's a phenomenal person. He's a friend. And so out of all of my cases, that's one of the most rewarding because I was able to touch Lamar, and Lamar was innocent, and there's just no excuse for him to die in jail.
I do want to touch a bit on immigration.
Sure, absolutely.
Big topic.
Yeah.
How cooperative do you anticipate the AG's office would be under your leadership with the Trump administration? And I want to touch on ICE, but first of all.
So most aspects of immigration is federal. But to the extent that I have a role to play, I plan to cooperate with the Trump administration to the extent that it's constitutional and it's not harming Texas citizens. And that translates in other areas as well. I don't anticipate an acrimonious relationship with the Trump administration nor with the governor to the extent that I'm advancing the interests of Texans.
You mentioned the word constitutional there. Is
Yeah.
there anything the Trump administration is doing currently you feel is unconstitutional?
I do think that some of the money that have been taken from the citizens of Texas, they've canceled numerous grants, and through really all the states, right? They're shrinking the size of government and research. Not Doge, just pulling of grants. Several months ago, there was NIH, National Institutes of Health. Those grants were taken from various states. And there's been grants besides those that have been canceled. But many of the states sued to get those grants back. And there's been other instances where states have sued to get money back that the federal government pulled for a variety of reasons, and were successful. In Texas, there are many others. In Texas, many of those lawsuits was never challenged, so the money was taken and never recouped. And that's real money that can affect Texans' lives. And yes, that's something I would pursue.
And I want to ask you about ICE. There's been a lot of discussion about them. How cooperative would you be with ICE if elected? Should they be allowed to be in Texas at all?
How cooperative would I be? I would be cooperative to the extent that they are furthering their mission. So I'm certainly not a abolish ICE guy, right? I'm a federal law enforcement. I spent years as a federal law enforcement officer. I wore the badge, I had the tactical vest, and I understand those guys really, really well. But I don't understand that violating people's constitutional rights and harming people who are posing no threat to you.
Now, a recently passed Texas law would mandate that the Ten Commandments be placed on a poster in every public school classroom if they are donated. That law, Senate Bill 10, is currently facing legal challenges. In your view, should Senate Bill 10 be declared unconstitutional? Why or why not?
Yes, it should be declared unconstitutional. Because there's a separation of church and state in the Constitution, and that violates it. I actually think it has been. The courts have decided it's unconstitutional. If not, then I expect that it will be.
But you feel as though it's unconstitutional?
Yes, I do.
I do want to, go off of that. As Attorney General, you may be required to enforce some laws that you may not necessarily agree with. What would you say to voters who may be concerned that, as a Democrat running in a state that hasn't elected a Republican statewide in decades, you may not want to enforce those laws?
I say what I want doesn't matter. What matters is the Constitution. And so if the law is constitutional, then I will follow it, regardless of whether I like it, love it, hate it. I'm going to treat it the same way. It's constitutional, then I'll follow the law.
So even something like that Ten Commandments?
Yes. Any law that's constitutional.
And during the last previous special session, Governor Abbott signed the bill giving the Attorney General's office the power to prosecute election crimes. What are your thoughts on that law? Do you support it?
So two things. One is there is not a widespread election fraud problem in Texas. And two, directly to your question, I don't think that law is necessary, and actually I think it's unconstitutional. And I think the courts have ruled it unconstitutional. The history is they ruled it unconstitutional as the Supreme Court, and then they came back and changed it. But even in its change form, the legislature passed the law in its change form. That, too, is unconstitutional.
And you don't feel it's necessary?
I do not.
Why not?
Because I don't think there's a widespread election fraud problem in Texas. I think that there was a lot of lawsuits in the past to say that there were election fraud problems, and they were all dismissed.
How much of a role do you see yourself, maybe not so much of a role, but how much do you see yourself talking with legislators, if you're elected, whether it be in the House of Representatives or the Senate? How much do you see yourself, working with the legislature?
I hope a lot. I really look forward to working with them. I am a collaborative kind of guy. I mean, all my experience has been collaborating, and there's always the saying, there's no Democrats or Republicans in a foxhole, right? When you're in a foxhole, when I was in Iraq, I didn't know what party affiliations my folks were, and we just worked together. And I expect to work with the legislature very closely and very well.
And one topic, you sort of alluded to it earlier with scamming, if I heard you correctly.
Yes.
AI's been a big topic recently. What is your take on artificial intelligence, and are there any lawsuits you would want to file regarding the technology as Attorney General?
So I think AI technology offers a lot of promise. I think that it also harms many people, and that it can be very, very harmful if not used correctly. Are there lawsuits? I don't have any lawsuits that I plan to bring against AI, but definitely it would be an option if I see that people are being harmed by improper use of AI.
Are there any lawsuits, doesn't have to be AI, but are there any lawsuits you know, or investigations you know you would start if elected Attorney General?
No, I don't think so. What I plan to do is have a top-to-bottom review day one. I'm going to staff up prior to taking the office, and we're going to look at every action that has come out of the Attorney General's office for a very long time, and to see what should stay, what should go, and if there are new actions that need to be taken.
Just to be clear, a top-to-bottom review of what exactly?
Of all the lawsuits that have been filed, and
They're just Attorney General Paxton, or the whole agency across its time?
no, not probably the last since Paxton's tenure, which is about a decade.
So, and I interrupted you there.
No, and so, but many of those lawsuits are now closed and gone. But the most recent ones, which remain, we will review every one. And there's also been a slew of letters threatening and saying the Attorney General is investigating you. I don't agree with that tactic. I know that those letters cause a lot of anguish. And oftentimes it seems as if they're targeting individuals who can't fight back. And so if you're going to conduct an investigation, conduct it. But don't blast it and send out a media release. And so we're going to look at the lawsuits as well as the letters threatening action. And we're going to see what needs to stay and what needs to go.
I do want to ask you about crime. Do you see the Attorney General's office as having a role in helping to reduce crime across Texas? And if so, how will you go about doing so if elected?
I do. I think that the Attorney General does not have a significant criminal enforcement authority, but they can surely help the DAs throughout the state improve their operations like many other attorney generals do. They help in crime labs. They help in all kinds. They serve a consulting role, and that really is not done in Texas. And I want to bring that to Texas. I want to bring best practices from many of these other states which help and provide resources. Because one thing about the DAs, they're wonderful, but they're stretched thin.
You feel they're stretched thin?
They are.
What makes you say that?
Talking to many of them, they're busy fighting mostly street crime, and rightfully so, right? That's the highest priority. That's what they are elected to do, and so they focus on those. But crime, like frauds and things of that nature, I have so much that I can add in that regard because I've lived that life of investigating that. That's firmly in my wheelhouse, and so almost. Not always, but many times they will say, we're not equipped to handle this fraud case, sorry. So I would like to make them equipped and provide them with resources, counseling, professionals, so all of those things.
This is a clarifying question on my end.
Sure.
If elected, you would be succeeding incumbent Attorney General Ken Paxton. Is there anything about his tenure you would like to see changed?
I do. One thing I really want is to restore integrity to the office, and I want it to be non-political. It should be non-political, and I tell people many people are unhappy with Ken Paxton. They tell me they're unhappy, but I tell them it does not do any good for us to replace Ken Paxton with a Democratic version of Ken Paxton. You need a non-political actor, person like me who grew up inside of the FBI, a person who grew up inside of the DOJ, and we didn't operate on politics. We operated on right and wrong and leaving politics out of enforcement actions and running of the Attorney General's office.
You feel integrity has been lost under Attorney General Paxton?
I think, yes.
How so?
I think so. I think we all realize that the Attorney General has been impeached. He did not get removed. He was indicted, and that case was resolved. And just those two things alone. And he was sued by his top deputies. And so those type of things indicate there could be or is a problem with integrity. And I don't expect any of those things under me. I've lived a life of service, and I've lived a life dedicated to comporting myself with the promise that I made many years ago, and that is to serve others and not get into chicanery and other things like that.
Anything under his office you feel has been done successfully and you'd like to see built
Yeah,
on?
I think that some of his civil lawsuits, some of his large civil lawsuits protecting Texans are good. I think he obtained $1 billion from Google. Google was lying about incognito and things of that nature, and so he recovered a tremendous amount of money from him, and I commend him for doing that.
Early voting starts in 1 week on February
Yes,
17th, and
it
the
does.
primary is March 3rd. Is there anything I did not ask you would like to tell our audience?
I think that a thorough evaluation of the candidates' records is always best, and so I would invite everyone to research my record I believe, above reproach and is ideally suited for the job of Attorney General.
Democratic candidate for Texas Attorney General Tony Box. Mr. Box, we appreciate you coming here to Tyler to speak with us.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys both for conducting this interview, Michael. Tony, we hope to hear you back soon.
Thank you.
And everyone, we'll be taking a quick break and we'll be back in just a moment.